Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing COVID-19 and tourism in Thailand. This is kind of more of an editorial, just sort of some observations that I've been coming to, kind of pondering all this as we're doing the research and things necessary to make these videos, as well as working here in the firm to get things sorted for our clients. There was a time, and it's certainly been the past 20 years, or at least since roughly 97, when Thailand sort of had economic issues, that Thailand's always been considered as sort of a quote-unquote cheap or budget destination. It's not overly expensive to travel to Thailand. I do not think Thailand's going to become expensive domestically. I think that, the relatively reasonably priced things that we deal with in sort of day-to-day life here in Thailand probably going to remain the same. But the notion that it will be sort of cheap moving forward, or cheap as it was in times past coming into Thailand, I don't think that that is a particularly realistic presumption to make. Based on what I'm looking at going into 2021, looking further ahead into 2022, yes, I think the situation will normalize. I think that we will start seeing tourism again, but the era of, everything being, rock bottom prices, and more importantly, the competitiveness of pricing resulting in, just these really great deals for foreign tourists. And again, not deals. I think hotels, there's going to come a moment, and I think it's coming sooner rather than later, when the deals on hotels and even airfare are going to be really good. What I'm talking about is not necessarily tourism. I should really be clear on this. I'm talking about the folks that either spend a prolonged amount of time. They're a tourist in a sense, but they spend 3 to 6 months a year in Thailand. Or folks that come to Thailand, and there were a lot of these folks in earlier years, especially prior to what I call sort of the big joke era within Thai immigration, when they started having all these crackdowns, where folks would just kind of come in and sort of just hang around Thailand for a prolonged period of time, and it was cheap to do that, and it was possible to do that on a fairly long-term basis. I just don't see that being feasible the way that it was into the foreseeable future. Yes, it's clear Thailand is trying to take steps to provide prolonged visas for folks who want to come back in, but it looks like they're exclusively doing this in a tourism context. And as I get into in other videos I've made contemporaneously with this one, the tourist visa is useful for exactly what it is, but conversion of that visa to a long-term visa in Thailand is not overly easy. And in fact, it's heavily discouraged by Thai immigration. It's rather difficult. They prefer folks, if they want to change visa status, to leave the country, seek a new visa, and return. So what I'm trying to say is, while tourism may be coming back, the cheap Thailand to live in, like to just hang out in for long periods of time, or, I know folks that, got lost here in Thailand and kind of wandered out a few years later, and that era, I don't know if that's going to be feasible in the immediate, I would say 18 months following the COVID era, especially as airfares and things. Yeah, there may come a day when it may sort of snap back price-wise to what it was, but I think that time is coming farther out than what we're seeing as of the time. Well, I think it's farther away in terms of time than most folks are going to want to look at in terms of planning from the time of this video.